courtroom buzzed with faint whispers and the shuffle of papers. Jennifer Walters sat at the defense table, her sharp navy blue suit a picture of professionalism. She leaned forward, clutching her notes tightly. To the casual observer, she appeared calm and composed. Inside, however, she was unraveling. The trial had dragged on for weeks. Sleepless nights, relentless arguments, and mounting pressure had pushed her to the brink. But today, the pressure was unbearable. There was something else, deep, unnatural heat blooming in her chest, radiating outward like molten lava. Her client whispered, "You okay?" But Jennifer barely heard him. Her pulse thundered in her ears. She clenched her jaw, fighting back the dizziness that made the room feel like it was tilting. "Miss Walters?" The judge's voice cut through the haze, sharp and impatient. "Your closing argument?" Jennifer stood abruptly, the legs of her chair scraping against the floor. The sudden movement made her head swim and she gripped the table for support. "Your Honor, she faltered, her breath shallow, chest rising and falling rapidly. Sweat trickled down her temple and she forced herself to continue. "I ask the jury to consider the facts and not let emotions cloud their—" Her words died in her throat as another wave of heat surged through her. Her blazer felt unbearably tight, the fabric constricting her like a vice. Her legs wobbled slightly as she fought to maintain her composure. "Miss Walters, are you unwell?" the judge asked, his brow furrowing in concern. I just need a moment, Your Honor," Jennifer said, her voice trembling. She shot a quick glance at the jury and then at the gallery, where her colleague Ethan sat, his eyes full of concern. Before the judge could respond, Jennifer gathered her papers and hurried out of the courtroom. Her heels clicked unevenly on the polished floor as she pushed through the heavy doors and into the hallway. The cool air hit her like a wave, but it did nothing to ease the burning inside her. She spotted the restroom and stumbled toward it, her legs heavy and unsteady. She shoved the door open and locked it behind her, leaning against it as she tried to steady her breathing. Jennifer moved to the sink, clutching the counter with trembling hands. Her reflection in the mirror was pale and glistening with sweat, but something about her eyes made her stomach twist. They flickered green for the briefest moment before returning to their usual brown. "No, not here. Not now," she whispered, shaking her head. Her chest heaved as the heat surged again, sharper this time, and her body began to betray her. The first pop echoed through her shoulder, a small, sharp sound that made her freeze. Her wide eyes darted to her blazer, and she winced as another pop followed, this time louder. The seams along her blazer quivered, pulling taut with a faint groan as her shoulders began to expand. Jennifer gasped, her breathing shallow. "Not now, please," she whispered, clutching at the lapels of her blazer. The fabric dug into her skin, growing tighter with every passing second. She tried to shrug it off, but her shoulders pushed outward, swelling larger and forcing the seams to strain audibly. The first stitch gave way along the back of her blazer, the sound sharp and deliberate. Her muscles twitched uncontrollably, each flex pushing the fabric closer to its limit. She rolled her shoulder instinctively, and the movement sent another stitch snapping. Her arm started to bulge, the sleeves of her blazer tightening painfully. The stitching along her elbows began to pull apart, the threads popping in rapid succession. Jennifer bit her lip, her fingers trembling as she gripped the counter. Her right sleeve tore first, splitting from shoulder to wrist with a jagged rrr. The fabric hung limply around her arm, exposing the green hue spreading across her skin. The left sleeve followed, tearing at the seams as her bicep swelled larger, the muscle flexing involuntarily. The blazer clung stubbornly to her torso, the lapels pulling taut across her chest. Her growing ribcage pushed against the fabric, the buttons straining audibly. Jennifer's breath hitched as the stitching along her back began to unravel, the threads curling outward with a sharp snap. One by one, the buttons flew off, clattering onto the floor as her chest expanded. The blazer split down the center, the fabric fluttering to the ground in tatters. Jennifer's shoulders heaved, her emerald green skin glistening as the heat surged into her torso. Her blouse, thin and delicate, was next. The fabric quivered with each heaving breath, the seams along her shoulders pulling tighter and tighter. The stitching began to fray, the threads snapping like brittle twigs. Jennifer clutched at the front of her blouse, but her hands trembled too much to hold it together. The first tear appeared along her right sleeve, creeping slowly as her forearm thickened. The fabric stretched to its limit before splitting completely, the sleeve tearing apart in two jagged strips. Her left sleeve followed moments later, the seams shredding under the relentless pressure of her growing arms. The buttons on her blouse gave way, one by one, the sound sharp and jarring. The fabric parted down the middle, revealing the rippling muscles of her emerald green torso. The seams along her back gave out next, the blouse tearing from collar to hem as her spine elongated with an audible crack, crack, crack. Her legs trembled, the heat surging downward as her slacks strained against her thighs. The stitching along her hips pulled taut, the seams groaning as her muscles swelled larger. Jennifer stumbled forward, her hands clutching the counter as the first tear appeared. The tear crawled up her right thigh, exposing the green muscle beneath. Her calves bulged next, the pant legs shredding further with every twitch. The stitching along the inner seams gave out with a loud snap, the fabric peeling away in long, jagged strips. The waistband of her slacks snapped, the remnants falling to the ground in shreds. Her legs, now fully exposed, glowed a deep emerald hue, the powerful muscles flexing involuntarily. Her shoes cracked next, the leather splitting apart as her feet grew larger, her toes bursting through the fronts with a sharp pop. With a final crack, her heels shattered, the fragments scattering across the floor. Jennifer groaned, doubling over as her spine elongated further, each vertebra shifting with an audible pop, her jawline sharpened, her breathing deep and guttural. Her hair, now wild and untamed, cascaded around her shoulders, framing her glowing green eyes. The bathroom door rattled suddenly. "Jennifer?" Ethan's voice was muffled through the door. "Are you okay? You just ran out of there." The door creaked open, and Ethan froze in the doorway. His eyes widened as he took in the claw marks gouged into the counter, the shattered sink, and Jennifer now towering over the wreckage, her emerald green body a monument to raw power. "Jennifer?" he stammered, his voice trembling. "What the heck? Is that?" She turned sharply, her glowing eyes locking onto him. Her lip curled into a snarl as she took a heavy step forward, the ground vibrating under her massive frame. Ethan instinctively stepped back, his breath hitching as she loomed closer. "What's happening?" he gasped, his voice cracking. "Is that you? Oh my God!" Before he could finish, her massive hand shot forward, grabbing the front of his shirt. His words died in his throat as she lifted him effortlessly, his feet dangling inches off the ground. He stared into her glowing eyes, his heart pounding in his ears. "Run," she growled, her voice rumbling like distant thunder. "Run!" Ethan croaked, his hands clutching at her wrist. "From what?" Her only response was a deafening roar, shaking the walls and forcing Ethan to flinch. The sound rattled through his chest, primal and unstoppable. She dropped him suddenly, and he hit the ground with a thud, scrambling backward on his hands and knees. "Get out of here!" she bellowed, her claws flexing dangerously. Ethan didn't wait to be told twice. He stumbled to his feet, his eyes darting between her and the wreckage, before bolting out the door.